Hello and welcome back to another episode. Except this isn't just another episode. Today feels much more like it's Christmas. The weather outside is in fact frightful. My dog is nicely wrapped up warm on the sofa. That's quite delightful. I've got a Link hat on, and something amazing arrived in the post this morning. I hold in my hand a Wii U, and well, it, it's very, very cool. Now, this isn't a console that I ever thought I'd be getting, and I'll come back to that at the end of the video. We'll do a bit of an overview, of first impressions, as it were, of the console. But I bought it as a gateway to play Zelda Breath of the Wild, and also along the way I've been able to, for example, pick up this HD Wind Waker. I mean, how good does that look? I mean, obviously, that snot in HD is incredible. But in all seriousness, no. I mean, I picked up a Wii U because I simply have to be able to play Breath of the Wild when it comes out in just over a month's time. That game is probably going to be a game of a lifetime. It's probably going to be a game which I've been waiting my life to play. And I was saying in my last video about how I might have to get a Wii U because I just can't afford a Switch. In all seriousness, £279.99 is just too much to shell out at this point anyway. And so rather than wait a year or more, as it were, to play that game, I had a chat with the wife, and this is what we came up with. And this isn't half bad, I have to say. Yes, I never thought I'd get a Wii U, and as I say, I'll talk about that at the end. But what we did get, and what arrived this morning, was the Wind Waker Special Edition Wii U. So it's 32GB Black Deluxe Edition, but the gamepad has beautiful Wind Waker runes and the Hylian Royal Family crest on it, for example. And with the console came the download code, the unused download code for Wind Waker HD, and the whole thing cost just about £120 with postage. It's astonishing. And as I say, I arrived this morning and there's a great big pile of bubble wrap on the floor just over there. It does feel like Christmas. And I couldn't. I'm almost speechless, but I simply had to record my thoughts about this console, having never really played it before. Yes, I have picked up a Wii U gamepad in the shops previously, and I wasn't entirely sold. And frankly, I wasn't entirely sold on on it being a necessary upgrade for the Wii. You know, yeah, okay, Nintendo in HD, whoop-de-doo. There wasn't that much of a step forward as far as I was concerned. But one of the big sales points, this is really one of the sales points that really pushed my wife over the edge, is the fact that actually I'll be able to play Breath of the Wild on this gamepad. While, for example, we have the TV on. So if our favourite murder mystery show comes on, I don't have to kick my wife out of the living room to go and watch it upstairs. She doesn't have to make me stop playing Breath of the Wild, or for example, in this case, Wind Waker. Everyone wins. And that was an aspect of the console which I didn't really fully appreciate. Yes, I knew you could do the local play on the tablet, but I never really thought about that practically until I had to try and sell it to my wife. No. Until recently, it hasn't really occurred to me. And especially actually with the marketing for the Switch, I think they're doing a better job of talking about these sort of elements of portability. But crucially, I'm not particularly interested in having a AAA console experience on the go. I love my Game Boy, my GBA, and so on and so forth. And I'd much rather play those games, for example, on the train. And so the more I thought about it, the more I thought, actually, this is the way forward. And so my wife is happy. She saw it this morning. Like I say, it arrived quite early, actually, before 8 o'clock, in fact. The dog was not happy. And I've been setting it up, and I'm very impressed, mightily impressed. Not least because, for example, of this game. I mean, this game represents the fruition of the promise of the GameCube version of Wind Waker. When it first came out, people were sort of comparing it to it's like playing a Pixar movie, this kind of thing. But that was never really actually true. I mean, it was standard definition for a start. The format was square, on most TVs, not widescreen as it were. And also for lots of people, um, the style was by no means wanted, as it were, if you see what I mean. And so this is because actually prior to this game coming out, Nintendo had been teasing people with a sort of a grittier version of Link and Ganon fighting, I think in an E3 trailer. I'll put it on the screen if I can find it. And so when this came out, some people thought this was like a kick in the face from Nintendo to the fans. But now that we've had the more realistic Zelda in the shape of Twilight Princess especially, but also to a certain extent Skyward Sword, we can look back on this game for what it was. It was groundbreaking and beautiful, and by no means was it a case of either or. You know, we've got the gritty Zelda, and we're going to have this massive, vast open world Breath of the Wild. And now we've also got this to appreciate as well. I love his expressive eyes. At one point I remember someone saying he had like a Cameron Diaz hairstyle. But I love the way his eyes follow things in the environment which you should or could be interested in. Presumably here he's looking at something that can be bombed later on in the game. I love the fact that this game actually put in place the standard which in combat. So for example, the rising tones of sword strikes, the dub 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 kind of thing. The fact that the enemies disappear in a puff of purple smoke as we would go on to see in, for example, Skyward Sword. This stuff is now just part of Zelda, and it was introduced to us in this game, and stylistically it is beautiful. You can't deny that. So it's become, I think, a legitimate part of the Zelda universe. And yes, okay, it would lead on to things like Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, which, you know, Phantom Hourglass the temple you have to return to in that game is just a killer. I really want to like that game on the DS, but I still haven't finished it because of that temple. But anyway, yes, okay, it's set in motion, that branch of the timeline, and it does have, for example, extremely camp pirates. But it's got character. It's got is it Moxie? It's got Moxie Kid, and it's a game which is a genuine pleasure to be returning to in HD. Just gorgeous. Anyway, so this is Tetra we've just rescued. She was dropped off on the island by an errant bird, literally a giant bird. And that giant bird is about to possibly kidnap Link's little sister, Arel, because she looks a little bit like Tetra. Oh. Here we go. This leads actually to one of my favourites in terms of emotional impact shots. Pretty much from, and I say shots as though it's a film, but, you know, angles, pretty much in any Zelda game. And we're about to see that in a moment. So he rushes off the cliff, Tetra grabs him, and he's a bit sort of like, a bit manic there. But he has to watch his sister fly away. And that, it's got emotion. Even though it's very simple, cel-shaded sort of graphics, it has impact. Now, we're going to leave the game here, and I'm going to just talk a little bit about the system. So I'm going to close the software. And actually, before we do that, you'll notice that the first thing that this console effectively is the first thing I thought when I first was setting it up. This is basically a 3DS, but it's using your TV screen and the screen on here instead of using two screens on the 3DS, instead of, you know, the dual screen. This has been Nintendo's mantra frankly for a long time. Frankly, with the Wind Waker game and the GameCube, you could plug in the Game Boy Advance and use something called the Tingle Tuner, which was a second screen that acted as a map. So this has been there. This has been in their water for a long while now, and so I was quite familiar, actually, oddly enough, when I was setting this up. It feels like a 3DS in so many ways. Where it sort of is different is in things like, for example, the presentation of, say, the Miiverse. there were seeds of this in the Wii, and incidentally as well, in setting up the console, I've transferred all my data over from the Wii to the Wii U, and that's been a real pleasure as well. Actually, the way that they did that is that effectively lots of Pikmin carry your data through onto an SD card, and then you transfer it over. So that was quite simple and quite pleasant to do. This is effectively an evolution of the Mii's and the Mii universe that they created on the Wii. And here we have a whole lot of people in Europe, in French, German, and English, talking about, for example, their experiences on different games. So there's someone there who's just got lots of coins on Mario Maker. Now, the Miiverse doesn't interest me massively, but it's something I'll have to explore, at some point. But if I press the X button, I can swap the screens round. So this screen, if I press X, it's now on here. Press X, and then they swap, you see. This is sort of the heart of the console, and again, it's like a 3DS. It makes me think and feel like I'm playing a 3DS. And you can see that actually already I've got some other things going on. I've got there, top left, the disc in the console is Bayonetta 2. Had a bit of a go of that this morning. Pretty good. I wasn't ready for the swear words though. We have the Wii, and it can launch, and essentially emulates the Wii, but it means that I can finish Skyward Sword, for example. I can continue with Resident Evil 4. Next to it, I'll just open up on here. This is the only weird thing is I don't seem to be able to control it on the TV, but anyway, open up that, and I can't swap them around. Basically, in the folder there that you saw, in the folder, one of the things was health and safety information, which I've opened, and now it's doing it on two screens. Clearly, I've got to get used to things. But what effectively in that folder, I've just put all of the system apps, this kind of thing. So settings, health and safety, parental controls, all that kind of malarkey. And swap them back again. There we go. And then there we have to the right the Wind Waker download. I have been quite impressed by this. I have, and yes, for a long time I dismissed the console, largely based on the fact that I didn't think it was really fulfilling a requirement. There was it wasn't necessary to have this upgrade. They could have gone straight to Switch, frankly. And this does feel like a halfway house, half a step towards what would become the Switch. But knowing now where the Switch has gone, and what the Wii U is, I actually don't feel shortchanged at all. I feel as though actually the Wii U represents what I want, for now at least. It is a HD experience. It will give me Breath of the Wild. It's got a library that I can explore, for example, Super Mario 3D World, this kind of thing, Paper Mario, etc., Splatoon. I'll probably get a Shovel Knight, this kind of thing. And crucially, I'm not particularly bothered about going off and playing a AAA experience out in the countryside. Yes, I know that's a big sales pitch and point with the Switch, but actually, I'm happy just to be able to play it on here in the house. So there you have it. We have a Wii U. The Wii U has landed, and yes, I started this video out positively giddy at the prospect of being able to play Breath of the Wild, and I think really that's what the Wii U was represented to me all along. It's represented the promise of a next generation Zelda, and now that is on the horizon, I can justify getting a Wii U. Previously, it just didn't quite make sense to me. HD Mario, HD Mario Kart, Splatoon, and while these things are there now for me to go and explore and to add to the library, to experience, for example, Mario Maker, up until Breath of the Wild, I just couldn't quite make that step. So it's been an exciting morning, and I look forward to properly getting to know this console, because at the moment it feels a little bit like I'm fumbling around, as it were, getting to know it. But good Lord, what an introduction to the Wii U in the shape of Wind Waker HD. Let's see where this goes, folks. But hopefully this has been interesting for you. Hopefully, I don't know. I can see the selling point. I can see why people think the Switch is great, and I can also see why the Breath of the Wild on the Switch is the superior version. It's going to have a better pixel ratio. I think 900p instead of 720, and also it's going to have audio fidelity, like footsteps and the outdoor sounds. Apparently, will be better on the Switch version. But for me, this is a viable alternative for playing that game. Um, and I don't know, maybe there are some other people out there who feel the same. What do you think? Do you think that actually getting a Wii U and for Breath of the Wild makes sense? It definitely did for my wallet, and it certainly has for my wife as well. Anyway, on that whoosh, bombshell. Yes, my my wife gave me permission to get the Wii U. I shall let you guys go. As ever, until next time, do take care. Bye bye.